Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today we are looking at another fun new card from the upcoming set, Guardians Rising. It is Salazzle, or Salazzle, as I will be calling her, out of blatant disrespect. Salazzle is one of my least favourite cards from the new Pokemon game Sun and Moon. I've made no secret of my love for Sun and Moon. But Salandit evolves at level 33 if you have a female Salandit. A male Salandit never evolves. Oh yeah, and 87.5% of Salandits are male. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 7 out of 8 are male and never evolve, as I found out when I leveled him up over and over and over and he never evolved. Not that I'm still holding a grudge. So, Salazzle. The fact that she is a fire type is very good, and I say she because the men don't evolve. It's pretty good because of Decidueye and Lurantis. Although actually, to be fair, the only attack that she has isn't actually powerful enough to KO them anyway. Now, weakness to water is actually pretty good. Now, I know that at the Anaheim Regionals, there have been a couple of Lapras decks starting to do quite well. If Lapras gains traction, this is going to be very bad news for Salazzle. Now, the attack here is pretty garbage. It does 90 for a fire double colourless, and it's good that you can use a double colourless energy, I suppose. But you've got to discard an energy, and 90 damage isn't particularly good. It won't one-hit KO a Lurantis or a Decidueye. I suppose maybe with Kukui and the ability, we'll get to them in a little bit. But just because it standardly doesn't KO makes me very... The one thing it would have going for it is its typing, and that doesn't even really help. However, we do have a very nice ability here. When you evolve up, so it's all kind of a one-shot attack. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and burned. Now, poison puts 10 damage between turns. Burn puts 20 damage between turns, but then you flip a coin, and if heads, you're no longer burned. Poison stays until you're KO'd or you leave the active. That means that you are instantly doing, or at the end of the turn, you're doing an extra 30 damage. And that's if your opponent immediately gets out of the active. And if they don't, then this just keeps building up and building up and building up. Now, I did do a video recently about Poison Barb, in which I went through a lot of the options for poison and things like that. I shan't repeat them all here. What I will tell you is that 30 damage between turns was good for a very long time because of the combination of Hypnotoxic Laser and Burbank City Gym, automatic poison, and then it did 30 between turns, and that was big for a long time. We've shown that the effect of this is good, so this could turn out to be a very, very good ability. And if you're playing in the expanded format, you can actually still use Burbank City Gym. So you're doing 30 from poison, 20 from burn, so you're actually doing 50 damage between turns. It could add up quite nicely. The only other thing I'm going to mention in terms of the poison, like I've said, check out my Poison Barb video. There is a Toxicroak which is currently legal, which could have a fair bit of fun with this. Now, it does have an ability which says that it's essentially invulnerable while your opponent's active is poisoned. Now, it only prevents damage, not other effects. I don't like the attack very much, and let's face it, there's so much Garbodor and Hexmaniac around at the moment that your opponent can very easily KO using one of those things, and then, well, your Toxicroak is gone. And this is a one-time ability, so it's not like you can poison them every turn. It's an option, but as a Stage 1 Pokemon with a bad attack, I'm not a huge fan. Now, if nothing else, this will force your opponent to switch their active. It will annoy them and slow them down. So, for instance, things like Escape Rope, which they probably want to save for late game. Maybe they'll use Olympia, but that's their supporter for the turn gone. Might be one of their very valuable Versus Seekers that they can't use anymore. Maybe you're playing against a Sol Galeo GX deck, and they just use their ability. Well, fine, but it's forcing them to use the ability. What you could even do here is use something like your own Hexmaniac, but make sure you play Hexmaniac after Salazzle's ability here. That's really important. So your opponent couldn't use Soul Galeo. There are lots of options for your opponent to switch their active. What I like about this ability is that it forces your opponent to switch their active and penalises them for not being able to do so. That is lovely. And maybe they can switch out of the active, but they can't get back into the active to attack. So then you're wasting a turn of their attacking. Now, because this is a one-shot ability, we do want to try and reuse it, but it's a little bit awkward. We could use Devolution Spray here, devolve back down to Salandit, wait a turn, and then evolve back up to use the ability again. The other thing we could do, one of my big uses for this would be in an Incineroar deck. You want to be playing fire Pokemon anyway, so have Salazzle on your bench. When you evolve up, your opponent gets poisoned and burned, you do extra damage, life is good. Now you're going to be playing Skyfield. Your opponent replaces Skyfield, you go down to 5 bench spaces, discard Salazzle, Super Rod it back in, and try and get it out later on in the game. Here's the problem. We had a Pokemon like this a while ago. We had the Next Destiny's Amoonguss. Do you remember all the really good decks which focused around Amoonguss? No, neither do I, because there weren't really any. Now a bunch of people tried using it a little bit here and there. I saw some decks with it, but it never really took off like that. And this was when you evolve it once per game, they are now confused and poisoned. It did very similar thing, except it didn't see much play. And I worry that's a problem with Salazzle. It will see play in the odd rogue deck. You'll go to League sometimes, you'll see this played. But I think that when we get to the top tables here, in big tournaments, I don't think this card is going to be around. So I'm going to give Salazzle between 2 and 3 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Although, to be honest, I might be tempted to give it 3 Wassies if it wasn't so ridiculous. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still bearing that grudge. Now, you know the deal. There is a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you use them both. Although if you have already subscribed, it becomes an unsubscribe button. Please stay well away. You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.